Now, when it comes to royal tiaras, some families are immensely blessed with a huge selection to choose from, and others not so much. And that's the case for today's royal family that we are going to talk about, Belgium, and the tiaras that are available to the ladies from that country. It is actually one of the smallest tiara collections in Europe, but it also has some really, really incredible pieces that shine brilliantly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And I'll tell you all the tiaras from Belgium that we currently see on the royal ladies. The first we have on here is Princess Elisabeth's tiara. There's not an official really name for it yet, although you could call it the Vesti tiara as well. And this was an antique piece purchased for the princess's 18th birthday because she is the future queen of the Belgians. She is the Duchess of Brabant, and they just don't really have any tiaras to lend her. So her parents decided to go ahead and purchase a piece for her on her 18th birthday in 2019. In an official statement, the palace said, "It's an antique piece that King Philippe and Queen Mathilde bought for her 18th birthday in 2019, and it will remain within the family." And it most likely belonged to Lady Vesti, an American who married into the British aristocracy. And it looks like the family ended up selling the tiara. They had to apparently pay two-thirds of the late Baron's estate in order to cover all the inheritance taxes. I am personally very against inheritance taxes on ancient families that require them to get rid of items like this. It happened to Princess Margaret's children. They actually had to sell her own wedding tiara in order to cover the inheritance taxes. And I'm just against that because I think it ends up and results in families having to diminish their own cultural heritage. And as a result, I think the state is forcing them to choose between history and taxes. And I don't think that should be a really big choice because I think it's best when we can celebrate these royal families and the aristocracy and help them keep all these things together. All right, so next we have Princess Claire's diamond tiara. This one she received when she married Prince Laurent. So he is the son of the former king of Belgium. So that's King Albert II and his wife Paula. He married Claire in 2003, and this was given to her because there really aren't any other tiaras to choose from. She hasn't worn it in recent years because she was able to debut the diamond and pearl tiara. So this was a new one that has a fleur-de-lis pattern, and she debuted it in 2010 at the wedding of Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. She hasn't been to a tiara event in recent years. Her husband is the youngest son of the former king. Obviously, we have a new king, and the current king's children are becoming the age of majority. They're all basically getting into their upper teen years, if not 20s. And so his role has obviously diminished in turn. And we usually see this happening with families, but it's always a little bit sad because it's so nice to see a tiara, isn't it? So these are the two pieces that Claire has access to. So what we're getting to right now is the ones that are just owned by various members of the family. We're not even getting to the ones that are really within the main line yet. And this one, though, is rather special. It's the Savoy-Aosta Tiara. And this one's worn by Princess Astrid. She is the sister of the current king. And this one has quite a unique history and very prestigious heritage because Astrid married into a branch of the Habsburg family. So it was originally given to French Princess Anne of Orleans for her marriage to Prince Amadeo of Savoy in 1927. It's diamond and platinum. Amadeo became the Duke of Aosta in 1931. And interesting fact, he served with Italy in World War II in East Africa, and he actually died as a POW in Kenya. Very interesting. And so Anne's daughter, Margarita, married Archduke Robert, the son of Emperor Karl I and Empress Zita of Austria-Hungary. Their son, Lorenz, married Astrid of Belgium in 1984. So she married her husband almost 20 years before her brother married his wife, or actually about 15 years. Isn't it funny how that stuff works? Anyway, so it appears to be hers now. She wears it exclusively. So it seems like perhaps her mother-in-law actually did go ahead and give her this tiara. And so their children are titled as a prince or princess of Belgium. They are also an archduke or archduchess of Austria-Este. So this really is quite the lineage. And I think goes to show too, one of her sons actually married another aristocrat. So these circles, even though they've branched out in a lot of ways, a lot of these royal circles, they still come together because this is a very exclusive club. But it is really cool to see a tiara with such a history being worn by Princess Astrid. So now we have Queen Elizabeth's Art Deco tiara. And so this was made obviously for Queen Elizabeth with an S, not a Z, in the early 20th century. So it could be worn as a bandeau or a choker. And it was given to her daughter-in-law, Astrid, different Astrid. Yes, they use a lot of the same names, so it does get a little confusing. And sadly, she died at 29 in a car accident. So Princess Lillian, who was the second wife of King Leopold III, who did not get a queen title. I'm not sure why, because I wasn't looking for it this time, but if you are very interested, I will look into this because I find that kind of interesting. So she did wear this tiara, and then it went to Queen Paola, who is the wife of the former King Albert. And so she wore it and now owns it. So this is considered her personal property. And it was lent to Matilda for her wedding day, and it was most recently worn by Astrid's son's wife, Elisabeth, who married Prince Amadeo. So yes, lots of connections there. So went through a couple of Belgian queens and now currently rests in the hands of former Queen Paola. And the reason she's the former queen is that the king had an illegitimate child. And what that resulted in was voluntary abdication in exchange for Philippe. And so at this point, she is still living and she still controls that tiara. And many consider her one of the most beautiful women. When she was younger, she was quite beautiful, and one of the most beautiful royals in Europe. And she was actually a member of the Italian aristocracy, if I remember correctly. So she also had Queen Paola's diamond necklace tiara, and this was most worn as a necklace in recent years, and it was most likely given as a wedding present or as a gift for the birth of her son Philippe. But it has 2 rows of diamonds and a pendant, and it is a very, you could say, small tiara when she wore it as tiara, which she did mostly when she was young, but now she wears it more as a necklace. So it was probably because at the time she was not queen, and she wasn't queen for a couple decades, and she didn't have that many tiaras to choose from because, as we've established, the Belgians don't have that many tiaras to choose from. And so she was able to use that one as an additional tiara. And when she got the Art Deco tiara, she's like, I don't need to wear this one anymore. Okay, so next we have the one that is most closely associated with Matilda, which is a Barabant Laurel Wreath tiara. And the reason this one's associated with her is because it is personally owned by Queen Mathilde. This was given to her by a group of Belgian aristocrats for her marriage because she is actually part of the Belgian nobility. And it's actually rather interesting because this mirrors somewhat what happened with Queen Mary. I feel like she got the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, and it was a group of ladies, nobility, who gathered together, raised funnies, purchased this tiara for her. So it's nice to see that that is a history there as well. So this tiara was actually made, though, in 1912 by Hennel and Sons, which is an English family. It can be converted into a necklace, and we actually saw her wear it as a necklace at the wedding of Prince William and Catherine. It also has a high and low setting, depending on how she wants to wear it. It has 631 diamonds. All right, next we have the Wolfers Tiara. It was created by Wolfers for Queen Fabiola. It was her wedding present. It had 200 diamonds. It could also be worn as a necklace. And so there were a lot of questions when Fabiola died in 2014. She was very well loved in the country. Many wondered what happened to most of her jewelry because she was the former queen. So her and her husband actually were unable to have any children. She actually had 5 miscarriages, and he died suddenly in 1993. And so she had this tiara, and many were wondering, because all of her estate was left to one of her charities, they were wondering what happened with this particular tiara. And we did see this one on Matilda in 2015. But there is also another question about another tiara, which we'll get to in a moment. And next we have what we call the big guns here on Royal Fashion News. So this is a term referred to as the tiaras exclusively meant for the Queen. Only the Queen wears them. And in Belgium, there really is only one, and that's the Nine Provinces Tiara. It was a wedding gift to Princess Astrid of Sweden for her marriage to King Leopold III in 1926 by Van Bever, a Belgian jeweler. And as you'll remember earlier, Astrid died young at the age of 29. It started off as a bandeau, and then it had basically spikes with big diamonds on it. It's a little odd looking. I don't know quite what they were thinking, and it appears that the stones have a bit of a yellow tinge to them. And so it was decided to add arches that could frame these massive diamonds. And those large stones, it should be noted as well, were over 100 carats. And so this tiara was again inherited by Princess Lilian, who was the second wife again of King Leopold III. And she wore the base, the bandeau aspect of the tiara, but she didn't wear the full thing. Obviously, she was not queen. Again, not quite sure why that is. We will investigate someday. So Queen Fabiola ended up wearing that tiara on her wedding day. It looks spectacular. And you can also adjust it a bit. So obviously you can just wear the bandeau aspect. So this is a lower setting. This is the tiara that Queen Mathilde wore for her first portraits as queen. And then you can also add the arches, but remove the massive diamonds within them. And the bandeau can also be converted into a choker. So Queen Paola actually wore the choker at Crown Princess Mary's wedding. So you can see that in a little picture here. All right, guys. But to end on, we have a mystery. And that is what happened to Queen Fabiola's Spanish wedding gift tiara. This is a magnificent piece. It is huge and it's very convertible. It has 3 settings and 3 different stones you can put in the little leaf designs there. You can either put rubies, emeralds, or aquamarines. And this was actually given to Fabiola by the fascist dictator of Spain, Francisco Franco. And you will remember from last week, if you watched our video about the Spanish tiaras, that he also helped them build back up some of their tiara collection, and he was very invested in Juan Carlos, who ended up becoming king. And Juan Carlos could have ruled Spain as a dictator, but he decided to give the country back to the people after Franco died. And so she was actually a Spanish aristocrat, and she wore the tiara at her wedding reception the night before. And interesting fact, she was actually a nurse before she became a royal. And a very interesting fact about the history of this tiara, now granted this I think is somewhat rumor, I read this off the Order of the Sartorial Splendor, which is one of the websites that does track some of these jewelries, although it's been mostly inactive since a couple of years ago. Anyways, they said that apparently it was owned by a group of nuns, and that in order to raise money, they had taken out the colored jewels and actually replaced them with fakes so that they could raise money. And apparently that was not found, if this is true, until after it was given to Fabiola. So I don't know for sure, because we really haven't seen this tiara since 2000, that they could be fake. I'm not sure. But anyway, so the last time Fabiola, like I said, wore this tiara, it was in 2000 for the state visit of Spain. So very much reflecting on that cultural heritage she has and the connection to Franco. And then the last time we saw it in a necklace, because it could also be converted into a necklace. She could take the leaves off and make a necklace. The last time we saw that was in 2005. And we don't know what happened to it. Fabiola died in 2014, and we saw the Wolfers Tiara on Queen Mathilde in 2015, but we have yet to see this tiara. And it is a stunningly beautiful piece, massive, massive. And I think Mathilde deserves more tiaras. Really, she only has access to 3. The Wolfers, the Brabant tiara that her husband purchased for her, and the 9 provinces. She just has 3 tiaras to choose from. And as an article said the other day, Maxima who did a state visit to Belgium not too long ago, had like 15. So Belgium needs more tiaras. Come on, Queen Fabiola, please have lent this to Queen Mathilde. And Queen Mathilde, please bust this one out if you have it, because we haven't even seen it as a necklace. The challenging thing is it could be that Queen Mathilde doesn't like the weight of it or the shape of it. That sometimes impacts what women wear in terms of their tiara, but I'm really hoping that's not the case and that we see it soon. So guys, let me know what you think of this tiara collection and let me know which one you think is your favorite. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.